Our chaps, cheeky little bottle tight. I mean, I should have started it like that. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Of Rock Station, Shiraz Martoro from South Australia. But I've finished reading it. I mean, the trouble is with me sometimes, especially since lockdown started, I can sort of sit and read, and I was never really good at reading books at home. Since I moved into this place in 2017, I don't know why I can never settle, but I have, a Moonraker is no exception. Now, I've got a couple of copies for one reason or the other. This, I think, was my dad's. I mean, it certainly was given over to me when the parents were forced, and my dad was getting rid of a lot of stuff. And it's the latest printing was 64. Dad would have been 14. And I know Dad reads books, and you think, oh, what a statement. But Dad was very select with his reading compared to me. So, and this is held together now by sellotape and stuff, and the pages are all yellowed. And as you see, very basic covers. Pan did some wonderful covers otherwise. For Bond and stuff, and you get a nice little picture of Fleming on the back. And I love the. Oh, it's by Cecil Beaton. I forgot about that. Where is it? The summon. M wants you. The summons to his chief. That quiet Monday was to give James Bond, secret agent number 007, a new assignment, more hazardous and more exciting than any he had met before. A stupendous gamble with fate that was to lead him and the lovely Gala into a raking nightmare. And it says 6 shillings Australia, so maybe my mum or dad got this second hand from somewhere. I never noticed the Australia. Why would it say Australia? It's Australian. So, quick look. Well, it says Pan Books London. And it was published in Aylesbury where I live. Either way, it was Dad's. And it was falling to, I mean, actually, all the pages are still there. But I don't read it now because I'm just worried that it, like, my dad's HMSS fell apart on me. And so then, a little while ago, I got one of the white spine penguin books, and I say white spine. If you've seen one of my previous videos, I don't know which one it is. You got orange spines for penguin now, and grey spine, silvery spine. So I've got a spy lucky for that one, and you got this one, white spine. And if you want to contrast to that, what you just heard there, it just says, at M's request, Bond goes up against Sir Hugo Drax at the card table, an exclusive London club, to prevent him from cheating. For Drax, a self-made multi-millionaire of a shadowy past, has put up £10 million to develop a super-atomic rocket, and his exposure as a cheat would threaten Britain's latest defence system, blah, blah, blah. It's rather dry, really, compared to the Pan one. And then from a charity place, a couple before lockdown, I got what I refer to as the American edition, because certainly a friend from Chicago sent me a Goldfinger, and the British ones at the time were different. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's a bit sun bleached. So, and also I managed to spill red wine on it yesterday. So this one will be my copy I'll take with me if I'm expecting the plane to crash. But Moonraker is probably my second favourite Bond book, next to On the Marriage Secret Surface, and it's set all within Britain. And in 1955, somebody cribbling with, there we go, somebody wrote a review saying we want to be taken out of ourselves, not a beach in Kent. And yet I don't think they read the book properly, because even though it's all set within Britain, and that's one reason why I like it, it's a very constrained setting. Effectively it's between London and Dover. It's got enough in it, I think, that it would have made a decent film in the late 50s, because they could have kept to the plot and they wouldn't have to worry about doing an outlandish plot like they did in 79, which is only because of Star Wars. And so Bond, as you heard, has to go investigate what's going down. Now, he only gets into it really because Hugo Drax is a member of M's Club Blades and is cheating at cards, and M requests Bond to help him out, stop this man cheating, basically. And it's a fantastic. The first couple of chapters alone would have made a decent film. I mean, in the first chapter, you get James Bond's office life, and as he says in the chapter, he only gets 2 or 3 assignments in a year. So all this flash bang wallop stuff is a really small percentage of James Bond's actual life. He's just basically a civil servant, otherwise paid £1,500 a year in 1955, and I wouldn't like to say what that is now. 60, 70, 80,000 pounds maybe, more. He has his own secretary, of course. People tend to forget that in the books. Elenia Ponsonby was his secretary, and Moneypenny was M's. Now, I guess technically he might have his own secretary, but everyone always assumes, I think, with the slightest glance, that Moneypenny is Bond's, well, it's the only secretary. And it's a nice scene when they're at Blades, because for a start you get to see Blades. I don't think it was on a Bond book beforehand. And it's M and Bond working together, but even then Bond is giving the skinny the instructions to M, like, you know, if I do this, that and the other, you do this, that and the other, don't do this, do you understand? And M goes, yeah, certainly. And M's the kind of man that, in the books anyway, that would be told, that does not mess about. And that's one reason why Bernard Lee portrayal, certainly in the first couple of films, with Terence, because Terence Young had a fantastic understanding of the character in a way, and the modern Bond owes a lot to Terence Young, but M, that is, I mean, I was talking to somebody online that I always need to write something to keep my energy going, or something, just give me something to do, and I was thinking of doing a sort of biopic of Sir Miles Mercerfy, who is the M in the books, in Fleming's books certainly. And I imagined, you don't get much detail other than saying HMSS and so on and so forth. And it's in HMSS they say that M's last ocean-going appointment was Repulse, a battle cruiser. Now, as far as I'm aware, the only battle cruiser Repulse was the one built at the end of the First World War and sunk by the Japanese in 3 days after Pearl Harbor. So to my thinking, he would have served on Repulse, say, early to mid-1930s, in the days when ships like her and the Hood were going around the world flying the flag. He rose to the rank of Rear Admiral, sorry. I imagine he was in the First World War. I also imagine he was born before Queen Victoria died. I've set the date at 1890. Because though he's described as being of the Victorian era, I don't think he would have been born any earlier than 1880 at pinch. Because, you know, the books I imagine by the start of the Bond universe in Casino Royale, he's got to be at least in his 60s. I don't think he'd be older than that. If he is, then fine, but I imagine him to be in his early to mid, even late 60s. And I imagined him doing a Bond-like job in the First World War. And then, you know, the person I was talking to was saying, well, you think he would be like Bond? And I was thinking to myself, well, yeah, I only said it because I figured he would know M's had field experience, and I thought, well, now I'm thinking, what if he didn't? You know, what if he tried in the First World when it went tits up? So the fiction version of it has become a non-fiction. It's going to be written by Bill Tanner. Anyway, the whole idea of this is to talk to you about Moonraker. I'm just rabbiting on endlessly. Drax and the Off is utterly despicable, and I should preface this by saying that this book is very much different to the film in most ways. Even Drax is meant to be this British millionaire, but he's actually German, of course, and he has a bunch of Germans at his place in Dover that's building the Moonraker, which is a rocket, and is meant to cover every capital city in Europe, but of course he's got it aimed at London, and Bond has to foil it. And then you've got Gala Brand, who works a special branch, and she's not your average Bond girl in a way. She knows her stuff, she's intelligent, she's smart, and she could, as Bond notes when he's eyeing her up, could probably kick his ass, to put it mildly. I think personally Fleming could have got away with not having him have any kind of passion. I say passion because in the 50s books, the way it's written, you know, it's just like Bond grabs her and they kissed hungrily and all this stuff, or made love like you know, just the way it's written. And for the person who says it doesn't take you out of yourself, you know, Gala gets kidnapped by Drax, and Bond chases him from London in his Bentley, and he is pounding the asphalt. He is going to hell for leather, and all of a sudden this aria, and you get it says that, you know, you have this brilliant image depicted of Bond's face, but for the goggles, sort of all covered in dirt and dead flies, because he's, you know, the Bentley's got. And then this RAF chap comes out of nowhere, and this Alpha Romeo gives Bond 2 fingers, and Bond sort of salutes him, because, you know, he's a young lad with a big engine, this guy, and he catches up with Drax, and Drax basically has him, forces him to crash to set a lesson to Bond, and then it cuts to Bond with this fixed image of revenge. And then, of course, he crashes like he does in Casino Royale, the book. It doesn't seem to have much luck chasing the bad guy with the girl in the car. And he foils the missile, of course, and it's commentated on via radio by a BBC announcer who is positively BBC for the day. And he reminds me of the radio chap who got into trouble during the Battle of Britain. It's on YouTube, I've forgotten the guy's name, but he's standing somewhere like maybe even Dover Cliffs, and he's watching a dogfight, and he just gets carried away, and he got complaint. I mean, people complain about the BBC, but this chap's going something like, and there goes one of our chaps. He's coming in now. He's giving a quick burst, but the Joey, he can't get away. Oh, look at that! He's got him. He's going down. Oh, wacko, and all this stuff. And this chap in the book's just like it. And then the Moonraker crashes and blows a Russian submarine right out of the water, and there's a little tidal wave thing. And then at the end of the book, Bond and Gala are told by him that you're going to have to leave the country because your face isn't known. You don't get that in the films. And she gets to George Cross, and she's going to marry an inspector called Vivian, which if I was Bond, I would have made some kind of snarky comment. Now, I was flicking through the opera. After Bond wins his money, he's in his office, and he's got £15,000 out of Drax. So, like I say today, that's stupidly good money, I'd imagine. And he uses government property to note, and if I may, he notes, number 1, Rolls Bentley convertible, say £5,000. 2, 3 diamond clips at £250 each, £750. He paused. That still left nearly £10,000. Some clothes, paint the flat, a set of the new Henry Cotton irons, a few dozen of the Taittinger champagne, but those could wait. He would go that afternoon and buy the clips and tour to Bentley's, put all the rest into gold shares, make a fortune, retire. I thought it's just Bond. And something I picked up on was at the end, towards the end, when Bond is setting out his plan to stop the Moonraker. And he's very forceful with her verbally anyway. He's like, bloody hell, woman, kind of thing. And then he said, I shall walk out of here and shut the doors and go light his last cigarette under the tail of the Moonraker. And she goes, God, what are you saying? You're mad. She looked at him through eyes wide with horror. Don't be ridiculous, said Bond impatiently. What the hell is Chez to do? The explosion will be so terrific that one won't feel anything, and it's bound to work with all that fuel vapour hanging around. It's me or a million people in London. The warhead won't go off. Atom bombs don't explode like that. It'll be melted away. There's just a chance you may get away. Most of the explosion will take the line of least resistance through the roof and down the exhaust pit. If I can work the machinery that opens up the floor. He smiled. Cheer up, he said, walking over to her and taking one of her hands. The boy stood on the burning deck. I've wanted to copy him since I was 5. And it's just like... And Bond gets hurt in these books, something that the films don't always do. And for long, like, he crashes the car. He's probably still hurting like buggery. In the films, he almost seems to shake it off somehow. So yeah, it's a good book, and like I say, vastly different to the film. As you can see, I'm melting on my nose. I thought my nose was one. It's actually... So yeah, that's Moonraker. My next book will be The Shortest History of Germany. They've managed to get opposites. They've got somebody from the University of Oxford, somebody from the University of German, somebody from The Economist, The Spectator, The New European Observer, and Philip Pullman. Interesting. Be like getting Ian Fleming to review Harry Potter. Anyway, chaps, thank you as always, and take care. Whatever you're doing tonight.